when I was asked to do this, I was thinking about the advice that I give to doc students and postdocs and try to summarize some of that. So it's very personal. It's what works for me. So just to parallel what Karen did here, I have a lot of responsibilities. We all do. We're all very busy. We're busy with research. We're busy with service. And we're busy with teaching. So that brings up the point that success is busyness. And so if you're successful in research, essentially you're going to become a CEO of a small corporation. You're going to manage employees. You're going to have budgets to deal with. It's a very dynamic process, and we don't get training in that, especially the management part. So no stock options. Yeah, right, exactly. So it's a very demanding but extremely rewarding career. So the overall goal is to try to maintain a high level of productivity when you know that you're faced with so many things to do. You don't want to become overwhelmed with your work. You don't want to be drained by your work. Instead, you want your work to feed you. And you also want to ensure that you're not neglecting the other aspects of your life outside of work. And so with so many competing demands, it's important to be very proactive about how you manage your time. And so as I was reflecting on this, I thought there were 4 main topics, and they happen to all start with P's. So it's the 4 P's, whatever. And the first one is prioritize. So you all know by now that writing is everything. So in peer-reviewed manuscripts are the currency, and that you need to focus on writing and to find time writing. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know that, but it is surprising that sometimes I talk to junior faculty and then they tell me, oh, I didn't realize that writing was, everything, that I'd have to clear my schedule, and that peer-reviewed manuscripts were the number one thing, and that grants were. So you've heard it many, many times. So the first thing you want to do is to develop a work plan with your administrators, just to make sure everybody's on the same page and build in research and writing time into your schedule. So you want to align your priorities with the institution's priorities, and then you also want to make sure that you adhere to a strict schedule. So work when it's best for you. I work early in the morning. I like to wake up and write first thing that, nobody's around in the office and I can get some things done. It's a good time for me to focus. That doesn't work for everybody. You want to minimize interruptions when you're writing by attuning students and your staff to your schedule. I think most of my staff know, don't bother coming by my office before 9 in the morning. The door's shut and I'm working, and I will not be as receptive to questions at that time. Impose deadlines on yourself, I think, is very important because time just slides by, as you all know. You want to drop and delegate unproductive activities. So minimize any unnecessary meetings. Meetings are great. Meetings are essential. If you're going to be a manager, you want to be an effective manager, you're going to have meetings. But you really need an agenda, and you need to ask yourself, is this meeting necessary? So use email if possible. And schedule meetings in blocks so that it's more efficient, because sometimes the start time and the stop time waste time. Karen and Holly had talked a lot about being strategic in your research. You have to be very careful about taking on new collaborations, particularly when you're pre-tenure. Most of you are very talented. You have amazing skill sets, and there are plenty of people in your environment who look at your work and say, oh, wow, that would add an interesting component to my work. And so make sure that it's also helpful for your work. Think very careful about taking on new projects. Beware of service creep. So a lot of service commitments are protracted. And that's fine, and service is essential and it's important. But when you have overlapping terms on some of these long-term panels, like an NIH panel can be between 4 and 6 years. This RSAC commitment is 3 years. Departmental committees are 3 years. And many times you don't see them coming. And if they're all overlapping at once, then things can become crazy, and you start to neglect your research. And you have to get comfortable saying no, and you need to be strategic in how you do that. You just can't say no to your administrators, right? What you do is you say, well, what are my priorities? Let's go back to our agreement, and is this in alignment with my priorities for this year? And then you can have a conversation about whether you should be on this committee or not. It's very important to have the right perspective. So I think, in this career where we're exposed to peer review, we're exposed to criticism, that you have to be very proactive about your mental housekeeping. You don't want to waste time on negative thoughts. That's very unnecessary. Practice decreasing mind chatter. Choose your method to do that. And practice staying out of unproductive departmental politics. Remind yourself of why you're doing the science. I mean, you have to step back every once in a while. We're in the trenches. We're writing. It's intense. We're reviewing. We're very focused on our problems. But then it's very helpful for me sometimes to say, I'm doing this because I am fully engaged. I'm intrinsically very curious about this problem. I want to advance knowledge in the field, and I want to improve lives of persons with communication disorders. So that broader perspective once in a while is essential. I think it's also important to develop a non-competitive attitude as much as possible. I mean, some people are intrinsically very competitive, but we all are on our unique paths. And, I mean, it was really, really nice of Kara to sort of share her path with us, in that I really give you a lot of credit for your persistence, and that's essential. And I think we all have stories like that, but our paths are unique. Our challenges are unique. And so it doesn't help to compare yourself to others. Just do the best job you can, and at the end of the day, that's what you need to know. We are learning together as a relatively small community. So be generous with your science and support other scientists. By doing so, you will create a community, and you will then also maximize the impact of your work. I think it's important to be humbled by this job that we're in, and it's easy to, because we are so exposed to peer review, and we use our brains so much, and our brains are a biological sieve, and so we're always challenged, but we have to learn new things, and we have to solve new problems. So it's important to recognize how privileged we are, because we get to pursue our own interests, and there's a lot of jobs where you don't get to do that. So we get to be fully engaged, and we get to chart our own path. And so we are very fortunate to have that kind of a job where we can implement our ideas. And similarly, practice humility. Choose your metaphor here, whatever. We're just laying bricks. We're not going to solve the world's problems. Maybe some of you will, but I don't know that I will. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, whatever. So, Chris, you want to come up here? I want to stand on your back. Huh? So, come on. So, I mean, that in line with that, you want to keep your expectations realistic. I mean, progress can be slow in research, and advancement can be often incremental. I mean, once in a while, something amazing happens, and that's terrific. But set up your supports. So this is persistence here. Make your family part of your team, or better yet, make them your research participants, as I have done. That's my son and daughter there. Bring your child and spouse to work so that they understand what you do, and communicate with your spouse and your family and your partners about deadlines and work stressors. This is about persistence. So while it's important to communicate with your family about your work, you do want to compartmentalize work as much as possible. Try not to bring the stress home. Just drop it. Put in a good day. Leave it there. Instead, I like to think of it as, rather than thinking of work as taking away, that my family's taking away from my work, and that should be a source of stress. Actually, my family saves me from myself in many ways. When they're not around, that's when I'm working till 3 a.m. Schedule your downtime. Actually put it in your schedule. You have to, otherwise you'll just neglect it. And then do a lot of fun things, do things you like. Just make sure you make time for that. This one was for my students because I gave them this presentation. So help your colleagues and mentors maintain their life-work balance. So minimize email communications in the evenings or weekends. Of course, there's deadlines and there's times when this isn't true, but try to minimize it. Reserve texts for very special purposes. Give them time to review your products, at least 2 weeks. So the bottom line is you just have to try a lot of different things and see what works for you. And this is my wife's response, Kimber, when I said, I was asked to give a talk on life-work balance. Interesting. So it's an ongoing practice for me, too. So thank you.